On Long Island's oldest and most beloved radio station, 1240 AM, WGBB.
Broadcasting on the beach with your host, Halftime Howie.
Thank you very much, Brian. And we are in studio tonight. And alongside, we have our videographer and movie critic, Rocco Passafume. Woohoo! We have our surfing reporter, Dane DiPasquale. Woohoo! We have our inspirational segment with Joe Satriano. Woohoo! Our aviation expert, Richard Kaplan. Woohoo! And two special guests from Pravita, Melody Ann and Paul Carapace. So, interesting story and interesting business. But let's start off. We are in the midst of the World Series. And I was talking to Joe before the show and Rocco. The Mets in one game were 2 outs away from victory. Another game, they were 5 outs away from victory. They could be up 3-1, but unfortunately, they've let 2 slip away, and now they're in desperation mode. 3-1, Game 5 tonight, Citi Field. Joe, do you give the Mets much chance?
I think this is going back to Kansas City. I really do. And I'll tell you why. Because I think Harvey is going to pitch the game of his life tonight. And the only reason why I have hope for the Mets is because they have 2 other great pitchers lined up, ready to go in Kansas City once we get past tonight.
Richard, it's been an up-and-down series. The Mets have had their moments, like the rookie Conforto hitting 2 home runs, but so sadly the bullpen and shoddy fielding let it get away yesterday.
Absolutely, Howie. I think that despite the shoddy fielding, I got to go with my gut and got to go with Joe on this one. We've got Harvey, we've got DeGrom, we've got some of the best pitchers in the National League rested and ready to go. We just have to get through tonight's game. It is in our backyard, Citi Field. I like those odds. I love Harvey. I love his composure. I love the fact that even under the most intense of pressure, he manages to come through. And I think that this is going to be a night where we see a different Met than we saw last night. I think we're going to see what we saw back in Kansas City in the second game, where they just came, in the third game rather, where they just came alive 9-3. I think we're going to see some serious hitting, some serious defense, some serious pitching. We got this.
Rocco, do you share their confidence?
I do. I mean, I have to. I mean, because the Mets have exceeded my expectations, like, since the season started. I mean, all I wanted, really, was for the Mets to have a good season, and they've exceeded that expectation wildly. I mean, they managed to win the division series, win the pennant, the National League pennant, and now it seems like they finally met their match now against Kansas City with the World Series. But, I really believe that I would like to believe that the Mets can go all the way, and definitely they should definitely win tonight, because there's nothing that would be more embarrassing than to lose right in Citi Field in their home turf. So they have to win this tonight, at least close the gap, so we can bring the series back to Kansas City for the last 2 games.
Yeah, Joe, as much as I think all Mets fans would love to see the Mets win the World Series, I think even if they lose, they've had a great year. I mean, they have for the first time since 2000, they made the World Series. The young pitchers have established themselves as probably the best young staff. Michael Conforto looks like a superstar in the making. So even if the Mets lose, I think Mets fans are happy with a great season and a bright future.
I agree with you with that, Howie, but you know how people are. It's what have you done for me lately?
Right.
So, I believe it was one of the Mets, I forget which one it was, that said, let's not worry about next year. Let's get this year. Because how many chances do you ever get to get this far? Especially with the playoff rounds as they are nowadays.
Absolutely. And you know what? They've suffered 2 difficult defeats. But the one thing about the Mets that I give a lot of credit to is they've been extremely resilient all year. I can remember that one game that I think it was against San Diego. They blew a 7-run lead late in the game, and then they came back and they had a crucial 3-game series with the Nationals, and they swept the Nationals. And so they've proven all year, Richard, that they can be extremely resilient and bounce back from adversity.
Absolutely, Howie. I believe they are extremely resilient. Even last night, you know, despite all the stuff that happened, me and Rocco were at a party, and there was one person commented when they brought that pitcher in. He said, "Why are you bringing him in the eighth? He always tends to blow it in the eighth." The fact is that you have to go with your gut. Terry Collins seems like a manager that goes with his gut.
Indeed.
He's got one of the best lineups for pitchers out there, and he took a risk. Unfortunately, the risk did not go the way it should have gone. This happens a lot in sports, but I think I applaud him for going with it. I think that tonight it's going to come down to who the better pitcher is.
Yes.
And I got to quote one of the greatest rock stars of our generation, the lead vocalist of Rush. I remember back when Toronto was in the World Series, they asked him, "Which team do you predict will win the World Series?" And his answer was, and I quote, "Whichever team's pitching sucks the least." I have to go with my gut on this one. I believe ours will suck the least, and we will pull this one out.
Well, to me, one of the most fascinating aspect of tonight's game, it's really from a human interest standpoint, because it's such a crazy happening, is how will Edison Volquez respond? Because how many pitchers on such a big stage have to deal with the emotion of just losing their father in the middle of the World Series, and this is going to be the first time he's taken the mound since he's lost his dad. And to me, Joe, it can go two ways. It can either be, he can be phenomenal, you know, doing it for his dad and in memory of his dad, or he can become unglued because, you know, for a young guy, it's a tremendous burden. I'm sure he's going to be dealing with a lot of emotions. Let's talk about Edison Volquez and taking the mound tonight after he just lost his dad, who was extremely close to just a couple of days ago.
Well, you're right. You don't know which way it's going to go, but a lot of times things like this bring out the best in a person. They want to win it for their father or win it for their loved one who just passed away. And the team rallies around them, too. I remember when Darryl Strawberry was on the Yankees. I believe it was 1996, 97 or 8, one of those years, and he was diagnosed with cancer. Prostate cancer, I believe it was, and the team rallied around him and just did a magnificent job, and it was kind of like win one for the Gipper kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of recent examples. As one was, it was a famous Monday Night Football game where Brett Favre had lost his father the day before, the morning of the game, and had one of his best games ever in Oakland. And then you go back to the Rangers a couple years ago; they were losing 3-1 against Pittsburgh, and Martin St. Louis lost his mom right after Game 4, and the team rallied around him, and they won the next 3 games.
I remember that vividly. Martin St. Louis, many were questioning how he would respond. Hockey is a different discipline than baseball, and he literally was lifted by the entire team. The team rallied behind him. Because of that, he kept on scoring goals. He turned into a machine. And that's what you want. That's what's so awesome about sports, Howie, is that these stories bring out the team element. You see the team rally behind that one player.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's really going to be on display tonight from both sides. I think it's going to come down to do or die for the Mets. And for this pitcher, I think it's going to be about rallying behind him, getting him through the biggest night of his life, and whichever team wins, I applaud. I applaud.
Yes.
Yeah, Rob, go ahead.
My thought in that is, my feeling is when the World Series started, my feeling was, you know, I just would want the Mets to keep doing what they're doing, and you know, whether risk that is like Richard said about Terry Collins being a man of instinct, and you know, we just got to do the best we can, really, and and keep it in perspective that, you know, the fact that we hadn't had so many good runs in the last few years, and now we're all the way in the World Series. I mean, I think we got to keep that a healthy perspective of the fact that win or lose, we're good.
Now, we're going to go to break. Before we go to break, I just want to let everyone know, if you want to call in and join the conversation, our two-way WGBB number is 631-888-8811. Again, you can listen to the show live on AM 1240 WGBB, or you can listen to us anywhere in the world on the internet. The link is www.am1240wgbb.com. And within a few hours after the show, you can watch the video. The entire show is videotaped on our Halftime Howie radio show Facebook page.
Right.
And on our YouTube channel, Halftime Howie. And
Yes.
Rocco does a great job on the video. So
Thank you,
and
sir.
make sure you like our Halftime Howie radio show page on Facebook. But and then, folks, we're going to do something special to end the show right around 7:45 to 7:55. We're going to end the show. You know, I used the word before, resilient, with the Mets. Well, we just I hate to use the word celebration, but the 3-year anniversary of Hurricane Sandy just passed a couple days ago. And to me, the word resilient greatly describes the people from Long Beach, because Long Beach got hammered, got destroyed by Hurricane Sandy. It took years for people to get back in their houses. Businesses were destroyed. We still don't have a hospital because of Hurricane Sandy. And there's millions and millions of dollars of damage. But the people from Long Beach rallied and are a very resilient group of people. So if you want to join in on the Sandy discussion or give your memories of Hurricane Sandy, our two-way WGBB number is 631-888-8811. And coming up after the break, the first time ever, Rocco and Richard will do a joint segment about famous celebrities that fly their own airplanes. It's going to be quite interesting. They have quite a few very interesting people they're going to talk about.
Yes.
Sadly, a couple are not with us anymore, but it's going to be a fascinating segment. Right. All right, we're going to take a break. We are live in the WGBB studios. I am Halftime Howie. This is Broadcasting on the Beach with Halftime Howie on Long Island's first and oldest radio station, AM 1240, WGBB.